Hi, everybody. Welcome to another mini podcast or mini episode for Slimefire Radio. Tonight we have Susan Jones on with us. We're going to be talking about nutrition and supplements over this pandemic. Now, Susan, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself? Why are we coming to you?
Well, I guess I went to school. I went back to school and I studied nutrition and I became a registered holistic nutritionist.
Cool.
And through that, it's been an ongoing passion because basically I totally destroyed my body traveling overseas and had to spend a good long time getting it back in order. And thankfully, I was able to work with a very sympathetic medical doctor who said, "Okay, what do you need?" And I said, "I need some time to figure out what's going on." And so with his patience and my studying, I got my body sort of back where it needed to be and sort of started my journey towards health. I have a couple of children who have different health issues. And so I've learned about food through them and kind of the things that they're putting into food, which are really affecting.
Disturbing, actually.
Very disturbing, actually.
Yeah.
Once you start really investigating, you start looking, you're going, okay, this has to be deliberate. And the more you study it, the more you realize, yeah, they're doing it. And then you think, okay, well, why are they doing it? Long term, a lot of the food that is out there is not in any way, shape, or form beneficial to the human body. So as a result, disease will result. And then that's how they generally can make money. It's really sad when you start digging into it. Basically, if you're eating real food, or if you're eating a packaged food that has minimal ingredients, like 5 and under, more or less, you should be okay.
Okay.
That's a general summation, of course. But that's how I started off. Yeah.
Cool. So the reason that we know you is because you're Ian Jones' wife,
Yes.
better half, as he would like to say, right?
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about you on our last made podcast that Ian was on. He was we were talking about food preparation and we were also talking about canning. He says that you're the specialist in the home that does that with respect to canning. But we can cover that a little bit tonight.
For sure.
But one of the things that we really wanted to talk about was during pandemics, we're trying to prepare food, we're trying to get food, but we also have to look at nutrition and supplements because a lot of times things aren't going to be available if the supply chain is cut off, and means basically, what are we going to do? So one of the questions I had for you is, well, it's a good question because you said that right now you're in a quarantine period, correct?
Yep.
You've just come back from Japan, and so
Yep.
that means that you're not allowed to go shopping.
Nope.
You have to rely what's in your pantry. So what types of things do you have in your pantry that you're going to be relying on if things basically hit the fan?
If things hit the fan and things continue on, I mean, right now, basically anything that you can store that is actually long term that actually has some nutrition, and that's the hard part because a lot of the stuff, for example, white rice, great, you can store it forever. There's not a lot of nutritional value, so that means you got to throw extra things in it. So, for example, Indian spices are probably one of the best things that you could add into anything. Now, when you've got your beans and your lentils, those store for a very long time. So if you're adding your rice and beans together, that actually makes a complete protein. The hardest part, I think, long term, if you're dealing with this on months at a time, would actually be to take and incorporate either sprouting, so you're getting your fresh grains, and or foraging if it's at all a possibility. Like right now, we've got nettle is out, and so there's nothing stopping you from making nettle soup because there are natural greens, and that's one thing I encourage everybody to do is find out what grows in your area, when it grows, how you can locate it, and even honestly, dandelions. I mean, during the Second World War, when there was a lot of starvation, people were picking dandelions and eating them. And if you look at the overall benefits, not only of the root, which was used as a caffeine coffee substitute, but also the greens themselves are incredibly beneficial, not only to the liver, but overall health. So
and people use them for salads, teas. We make wine from it.
Nice.
Yeah,
with the flowers.
Yeah, dandelion wine. It's you know what, when necessity, right?
Yep. Absolutely.
Bred from necessity. You become very
creative.
Creative is, for lack of better terms. One of the things that I recommend as well is also get in touch with the Indigenous peoples in your area.
Yeah.
They know a lot about the different things that are available in your area and what you can eat, what you can't eat as well.
So absolutely.
That's one recommendation.
Absolutely. Like out here, we've got salal, which most people don't have, but it's it's a nutrition house of power, and it's sort of like that's higher than blueberries. It's higher than a lot of things
Yeah.
in terms of the overall ORAC value. So it's
Right.
pretty cool stuff.
Right.
Blueberries in the rest of Canada, they grow pretty much across the way. So there's a lot of things that you can find out there, and you should at least know how to recognize.
Right.
Yeah.
Same thing with mushrooms, fungus,
Yes.
puffballs. Some of
Chanterelles.
Yeah,
Yeah.
some of the things though that I don't recommend are some of the more of the brightly colored ones. Those are the ones that we have to be careful of. Those ones.
Well, even one of the things that we've got growing around on the island is we have turkey tail. And turkey
Mhm.
tail is one of your amazing medicinal mushrooms, and it is an immune booster. So again, if you start learning about what's around you, you can discover that there's a lot of medicine right out there waiting for you to discover, but you have to find reliable sources. You have to do a lot of research, and especially with mushrooms, you have to be so careful. So
Right.
if you have the opportunity to take a class, even if it's online, but they've got some great resources online where you can actually do a spore print and figure out, because I thought I had an edible one, and I did the spore print and I realized, oh no, I don't want to
Yeah.
eat that one. So yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, know what's available in your area, know what to look for. The internet's great for that.
It is.
We were talking about me being somebody who comes from maybe a little smaller town, a little bit older and everything. We did a lot of canning, harvested mushrooms off the lawn, different things like that. So
Shaggy
you,
mane.
sorry?
Shaggy mane mushrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
mushroom soup. Yep.
yeah, so you become resourceful and you use what's available to you.
Yep.
Now you said that you went through your cupboard though and to try and find some things to examples for different nutritional things.
For
What type?
supplementation, it is also, as I was
Yeah.
mentioning to Adriel, is sort of like, because I haven't been able to get out to the health food stores to see what's there anymore,
Mhm.
I've just been looking at what's online, and a lot of stuff is gone, which is fascinating. However, there are still food items out there that have a lot of beneficial properties.
Okay.
So I don't know if you guys can see that. That is camu berry powder.
Okay.
Now, the cool thing about this is a company it's in the US, but it's marketed out of Ontario. This is a whole vitamin C product. So what that means is it's got all the bioflavonoids. It has everything so that your body knows what to do with this. So
Okay.
in times of stress, your requirement for C goes up because your C gets depleted from your adrenals. And I would say it's fair to even that most of us are under stress, and now with what's going on economically in the world, we're under a great deal of stress. So you're going
Right.
to need more of this. Now, the interesting thing is that, of course, Kirkland, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, ascorbic. So most of your ascorbic acid comes from China. So it's not a clean source in any way, shape, or form. So you've got to be, again, very careful where you're getting your source. It's usually derived from corn. Most people think it's
Okay.
citrus. Not, it's
I
corn.
thought it was. Yeah.
Yeah, they'll put orange flavoring in it to make you think that it is, but no, in fact, it's not. So you really have to look carefully at your ingredient list, where it's being sourced from, contact them. You have to investigate where these things are coming from. We bought this just because certain members of my family are more resistant to listening to their mothers than others.
Okay.
So then you've got something like this, which is slightly cleaner
Is it-
source. It's an enteric C, so it's going to get in there. It is non-GMO. It doesn't have any of the fillers that the previous one did. But so if you're looking at, to give you a gun analogy, if I can do that, if you
Okay.
just take this, it would
Yeah.
be basically, you're not putting anything in the bullet when you're making a bullet. This isn't going to get what you need it to do. There's not going to be a reaction in your body. You're basically going to pee it out. So
Okay.
it's pretty much,
Garbage.
yeah,
Okay.
more or less. If you were to combine it with something that actually had whole C, slightly better. I
Okay.
do this. My eldest, when we first moved to the island, had the wonderful pleasure of stepping on a wasp nest and getting stung 25, 26 times. So because that was trauma, I high dosed with a lot of that. And within a day, no hives, nothing, just little dots from the bites and no reactions to wasps. So again, when you're under stress or trauma, your body is going to require a lot more vitamin C. So
Okay.
that's one of your main antioxidants, right?
Right.
We are always taught ACEs, which is ACE, selenium plus zinc. Now, zinc's also been in the news a lot because it is part of the protocol that they found to be very effective at combating Corona-19. It's part of the one that has the malaria drug, and there's something else. There's an antibiotic as well as zinc. And again, those are the ones that you want to incorporate. Zinc, yeah, most people are zinc deficient. If you're eating processed food, you will be zinc deficient.
Okay.
You can get zinc from a lot of places. Of course, you can supplement. My zinc supplement somehow has gone missing since I've been away, but there are things on the market like, oh boy, I don't know if you can see that, TheraZinc. That's got elderberry and zinc. So, you know.
Where would you find zinc in more of a higher dose naturally?
Honestly, zinc would any of your organ meats.
Okay. So liver and kidneys
and also seafood. Seafood's actually probably one of the highest ones. Let me just, yeah, that is probably one of the highest ones. Like when I was in Japan, I had fried oysters, just because they're super high, right, in zinc. And the other thing that I had when I was there specifically that I could get more easily was eel. Eel is
no.
Yeah.
I hate eel.
Why not? Come on.
I hate eel.
Eel's good.
Eel is high in vitamin A, right? So again, your master one. So you're kind of like, you know, I've got one daughter who loves it and one daughter who hates it. So I was traveling with a daughter who loved it. So, you know, again, you can eat sushi if you're going out, or I'm sorry, not going out, but if you're having takeout these days and you like eel, get a roll, because again, that's one of your antioxidants. That's an easy way to get it. There are a lot of sources of A. Basically, yeah, you need protein.
Okay, so it's a protein-based one.
And also dark greens. Dark greens for A. Those are the big ones.
Spinach, kale.
Spinach, kale, also yellow fruits and veg. So sweet potatoes, those kinds of things are going to be beneficial. And again, some people can't convert the beta carotene, so they need to get it from the meat. It depends on your own unique physiology, and everybody's different. One thing doesn't apply, and one thing may make you feel great and make your spouse or, you know, your partner not. So it's all very individual as to what you need. But ACE, selenium, and zinc. Selenium is basically right now, that's probably your best source.
Brazil nuts?
Brazil nuts. And the interesting
What about other nuts, like almonds and raw almonds and
small amounts? This actually, you'll find that you only want like 1 or 2 of these. And if you're craving 4 or 5, good chances you're very depleted in selenium, and your body will naturally kind of go, nah, I don't want any more of those. And that's usually when you have enough. It's a trace one, so you don't need a lot of it. But that's a good natural one that you can hopefully still buy these days. So those are the sort of the bigger ones. The interesting thing with COVID-19 is that a lot of the fatalities have had underlying issues. And when you start looking into those, you start looking at high blood pressure, diabetes. These are all things that deplete not only zinc, but C in the body. So again, these are the things you want to be incorporating daily if you can. But C in particular, your berries.
I was wondering about incorporating. A lot of people say that if you want your vitamin C, you have to actually introduce vitamin D as well to bind with it. So for example, milk or milk products, or is that true?
Vitamin D in the format that is in dairy is D2. D2 is not absorbed into the body. It is, once it's been pasteurized, there is no nutrition left. That's a very controversial topic. However, raw milk, if you can get your hands on it, is amazing. I've been able to source raw goat milk for making cheese, of course. And so dairy is pro-inflammatory, and that's what you have to understand. And right now, you don't want to do anything that's going to make your body worse. And two of the first things that we always pull from people's diets, if they're suffering from illness or disease, we pull gluten and we pull dairy. The reason being they're so pro-inflammatory. And I just recently actually found out today that when something's pasteurized, free glutamic acid is circulating after the processing, which means it turns into and converts into, of all things, MSG. I just learned that one today. So that was kind of like, oh, that's something I did not know.
Which a lot of people have a reaction to.
Yes.
Gives them headaches and things like that.
And things like that, yeah. And it can cause an excess of mucus. And that's the other interesting thing about dairy, is that it will produce a lot of mucus in the body. And one
Yeah.
of the symptoms is mucus in the lungs for COVID-19. So why on earth would you want to add to your body burden at this time? So,
Somebody was saying, if you get it, drink milk.
oh gosh, no.
And I'm going,
No.
that's
And
kind of like, no,
no,
why?
why? Yeah, why? Some dairy is good, but again, I would lean more towards the goat side of things. Like if you're going to have dairy, goat cheese, and that has more to do with the casein,
Yeah,
which is one of the proteins in dairy, than the actual source. A lot of the European milks have the same type of casein as a goat does here, whereas here it's a different breed and it's more pro-inflammatory. So again, you're
right.
trying to help your body, and especially because you're under a great deal of stress right now, whether it be financially or even just not being able to go to the grocery store and get the greens that you need to
Right.
actually be healthy and survive.
One of the things that I saw recently today was somebody who was talking about, it was in one of these groups that was talking about the pandemic and not having social isolation and not being able to go to shops. So she has not had a fruit or a vegetable, even in a can,
Oof.
for the past 2.5 weeks. So we're going to, let's say something does happen, we run out of fresh fruit, fresh vegetables. What would you recommend for even just trying to introduce or keep some vegetables? And
Again, probably sprouting would be your best bet at that point. If you could get access to seeds and have them delivered, sprouting doesn't take too many days. You're going to get your
no.
bang for your buck. You can grow them on your windowsill if you're stuck in an apartment building somewhere and you can't get out. Sprouting is phenomenal for that. And it's, again, quick video on YouTube. You can learn how to do it, trial and error. When I've done it in the past and done pea sprouts, I can't stop
They're
my
really
kids.
good.
Yeah, my kids won't stop eating them, and I'm like, hey, I want to get a second, harvest because you cut the first one off, and nope,
Right.
never happens. They're always
Yeah.
eating it, and so it's sort of like that's usually the best and the fastest and the easiest way. You're not going to find your berries unless it's berry season. You're not going to get apples. I mean,
Yeah.
if this drags on, yeah, there will continued supply chain interruptions, and we'll have to start going back to eating with what's in season, and that's really the key overall. Luckily in Canada, we do have a lot of berries. If you have the ability to even freeze,
Right.
you're going to be further ahead.
Right. So season for us is a shorter season, so we are going to have to look at some of the more of the root vegetables and
Yeah,
different things like that as well.
absolutely.
Can I ask you?
We've got a ton of Saskatoon berries out in Alberta,
Nice.
so I can pick
Saskatoon berry pie
all day with that stuff.
And then can.
I freeze them. Just get like big bags of them and just freeze them. I guess
Yeah,
we
you
could
could do
can them
that
like a
too.
jam or something like that.
Make a
That's too
jam.
much work. I'm just gonna freeze big bags of it.
Freezing is actually easier, and you're actually preserving more of the nutrition.
Right.
Canning is great for long-term storage, and again, water bath is better at preserving nutrition.
Lower temp.
Lower temp. Yeah, as soon
Right.
as you get up, because vitamin C is water soluble, it gets destroyed easily with heat. So yeah, freezing, you're gonna maximize nutrition, and yeah, I mean, you can take them up and then make like a sauce or something to put over pancakes, whatever have you, once they're frozen, and you can make stuff like that, or you can make pies with frozen Saskatoon berries.
Right.
You can do stuff like that, but yeah, people are gonna have to start learning how to find stuff, to pick stuff,
Yep.
to fight
Just like they did 200 years ago.
or even 100 years ago. My mom grew
Yeah.
up in a farm in Saskatchewan and Ontario, and yeah, they had all their own food. And my grandmother, I mean, she was Ukrainian, so the historical past there, I mean, they always had food around, and
Yeah.
so as a result, they raised their own food. I have an 82-year-old neighbor from Italy who brought her own seeds over. She still grows most of her own food.
Most of her tomatoes, knows how to make pasta. That's the
Oh,
type of things. That's just the type of thing that people are doing right now in Italy, is they're growing their own food.
yeah,
It's their season right now, and it's starting, and they have that history as well, right?
exactly.
Same with in Germany, they're making,
Sauerkraut. Okay, so again, traditional.
Yeah. Okay. Sauerkraut.
Traditional, yes, traditional. Not only do you get the benefits of fermentation, so you've got an excellent source of probiotics, but you also have an amazing source of vitamin C. Boom. Right. So right then and there, you take some cabbage salt, you mush it all up, you let it ferment, and then once it reaches the level that you like, that's when you put it in the fridge, and you start eating that a little bit every day. Not only is that going to help for gut health, but it will boost your vitamin C up, so that will stave off scurvy. And you can There's a lot of things that you can ferment and turn into edibles. Katz is the last name, Katz. He's written several articles about harvesting wild foods and then
Vegetation.
yeah. So
Okay.
wild
So
fermentation.
so and you can make like South Koreans. They make
Kimchi.
kimchi. Oh my God, it's so good.
It is very good.
And it's good for you. It's good for your digestion as well.
Absolutely, because it is a fermented product and it has not been pasteurized. The one thing that you have to watch when you're purchasing kimchi is that there are some that have MSG in there. So usually the more expensive ones do not. And if you're fortunate enough to have somebody of Korean descent in your family and you're able to get some fresh kimchi, it's amazing.
You can just make it too.
Oh, you can, absolutely. Yep. But you know, my brother married a Korean woman and his mother made the best kimchi I've ever had. I've never tasted better. And
my mother-in-law and I made some in like a big 5-gallon bucket. A lot of it.
Did you bury it?
No.
A lot of times they'll bury it. The heat from the earth will actually help the fermentation. So
yeah, my brother's mother-in-law used to put it underneath her deck. So that's where she'd ferment it away, and then she's in Okotoks, so yeah, that was pretty cool.
So some of the things that I have pulled out of my cupboard that are kind of some herbal supplements, I want to know if you think that they're okay or not.
For sure.
So one of the first things I have is the greens.
Yep.
Which is basically, it's your powdered kale, and it has some flavorings in there as well. You can actually add this to juice or water. What are your thoughts on that?
It's a good emergency thing to have. Absolutely. Anytime you're going to supplement and get your greens in, I'm all for it. And there are various ones. Again, you have to be very careful. And if you don't know what's on that ingredient list, research it and know what it is. There are a lot of mislabels. One of the things you really want to watch out for is natural flavors. That can be just about anything. And when you start really going down that rabbit path and a rabbit hole, there's some really interesting things that they can classify
as natural.
Yeah. So
which isn't even what it's labeled as.
it can be labeled as that, but it's actually pretty scary. Like if it's got natural flavors, generally avoid it. You know, the greens powder, if it's just greens powder, I have it in my fridge. I drink it on occasion when I know that I'm not getting as many greens as I should, and as a result, it's sort of like if it tastes good, there's probably artificial flavorings in it. That's my only thought. So
yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah. You're probably right with that. So this one has it has berry flavor. Just wondering if it actually does have berries in it.
Berry flavor can mean anything. And again, if they're adding stuff into it, I don't like flavors. I just don't, because again, unless you know what's in it and unless the manufacturer is willing to divulge what ingredients are going in there, and if they say it's proprietary, I can't say that word.
Proprietary,
that's the one.
Yeah.
They should still be able to say, okay, well, these are what we've got in there. We're not going to tell you the ratios. So you got to be really careful with flavors. Absolutely.
Right. So some of the things that I've also bought, because I drink a lot of water, I drink a lot of, and every once in a while I go for a run, and then I'll actually have one of these. This is the new Boost.
Oh.
So it's here, I'll show you. So it's a powdered tablet.
Yep.
And you just drop it into your water, and it actually gives you your electrolytes and different things like that. So I have quite a few of these on hand, just because, again, electrolytes, and if we're only drinking water, we're not going to get our sodium and the rest of our it's depleting. That actually can cause other issues and that as well.
Yeah, you've got something going on in your body that's very important with your electrolytes, the sodium potassium pump, and especially if you're doing a lot of extreme exercising and you need to replace that. A simple fix though too is a little bit of Himalayan sea salt and a squeeze of fresh lemon or lime, if you can, even berries, if that's all you've got, because again, you're getting the citrus with the sweet and the salty together with, it's going to help with the absorption. So that's a key one. So you also have to think, I've been trying to think, okay, well, long term, what happens when these things run out? What can I use as a substitute? And so you always want to think, okay, well, what is it that they're trying to do? How are they trying to break those things down? And so take it from there.
I'm thinking it, but vice versa too, right? It could be long term. Like if I'm buying, I buy lemons right now.
Yep.
Funny story is my sister, she was on quarantine. She said, "Do you have any lemon juice?" I said, "Yes, I do." And she goes, "Well, can you leave it on can you leave it on my step?" I said, "Here you go. It's a do-it-yourself." The lemons are actually, I keep my lemons in my or lemon juice in my lemons. So you're gonna have to squeeze them.
Yep.
But that's the exact same thing. Like I just went out and bought lemon juice as lemon juice because I don't know what's going to be happening with our supply chain. So
Exactly.
same.
Yeah.
These are kind of like also with respect to our supply chain.
Yep.
Like if we do run out of the lemons and we do run out of berries and we do run out of, I have a lot of salt, but these are actually effective for that as well. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Like I said, always think, have what you can store and store long term, and then use what you can still get until that sort of runs out.
right.
Yeah.
Okay. So what are your thoughts on multivitamins and ensuring that you have those every day still?
Multivitamins, for the most part, most of them are junk. They're not worth it.
So these, Adriel, you have these, right?
I would have to see the ingredient list.
Yeah,
Yes.
I got gummies. Yeah.
I got gummies.
These are fun. These ones have been in my cupboard for a while. They're supposed to be gummies. I don't take them.
They're a little
They're
crunchy.
chewy now. They're
They
chewy
were for my
gummies.
son because he
Yeah.
likes pizza, right? That's it. I'm going, okay, let's get you multivitamin gummies. And anyways,
So
they're hard.
read the ingredient list again. You're not gonna. A lot of that stuff out there, unfortunately, is
Garbage.
not.
Even if
Yeah.
it comes from the health food store.
Again,
I got this at the health food store. Like,
they've got to make money too, and it's up to you more than anything else. It's up to you to take responsibility to research what the ingredient lists are, what some of the side effects are, whether or not it's actually food, whether or not it's going to benefit your body, because there's a lot of things out there that are just pure absolute garbage. And like I said, the one guy down in the States, I trust him because he tests all of his products and he knows whether or not there's contaminants in them. Again, I went on his website today, can't get anything. Most of the things that would be really beneficial, you can't get anymore. And that's not surprising. But multivitamins, you're better off eating a diet of real food, think that you have to chop up yourself and cook yourself, than eating garbage and having to take a multivitamin. Think of your body basically as a bank account. You're either making a withdrawal or putting a deposit. And at times of stress, you want to be putting lots of deposits in, because that's going to get you through the stress. Now, one of the supplements that is key, or one of the things that you can really take, this is an adrenal adaptogen. Okay, so this is AOR. This is a Canadian company, I'm pretty sure. It is a phenomenal company. This is ashwagandha. This is an adrenal adaptogen. So in times of stress, your adrenals they're pooched.
Throw through the roof, right?
Yeah, they're completely pooched. And this is powerful. This helps your body, and
like in what ways? Because
basically,
I know
an adaptogen will do whatever your body needs it to do. So if you're running slow, it'll pull it up. If you're running too fast, it'll slow it down. And the thing about ashwagandha, it's been used for thousands of years in Ayurvedic medicine. It has a long history. It is completely and utterly amazing as far as
online only, or you can get it at.
You can get this one at the health food store. Yeah, AOR usually sells at the health food store. The two companies that I like the most, that are out there for the most part, CanPrev is another one.
Magnesium, great for sleep, different things.
Sleep, stress. So right now, most people are going through a lot of stress because they don't know if they're going to have a paycheck. This one also has GABA, which is it helps with your neurotransmitters. It helps with anxiety and stress. Anytime you're under any sort of stressful situation, again, and everybody reacts differently too, in the sense that some people are kind of going, like Adriel, nothing's really changed in his life because of what his job is.
Well, the kids are there now, but it's a little bit more stressful.
Yeah, you need a little more stress.
Yeah.
I homeschooled my kids for 3 years, so as a result,
you have a drinking habit? No, just kidding.
Funnily enough, no. No, the reason being is once you start studying nutrition and you figure out what things do to your body,
you stop drinking.
You do stop drinking, although I will admit to having a lime and lager last night, and we did use Corona beer, but that's okay.
How about me? Corona beer, no.
Corona beer. But so the problem with alcohol during times of stress and chronic alcohol use is it depletes glutathione. Glutathione is your master antioxidant in your body, and in your lungs in particular, there's a lot of glutathione levels. So if you're depleting that by drinking and chronic alcohol use will do that. And then again, what is this virus hitting? It is hitting your respiratory system. Yeah. So the occasional one, absolutely, if that's what you need. But overall, like I said, once you start really studying nutrition and you find out how things break down in your body and what sort of byproducts are produced and then what your body has to do to get rid of it, you stop doing a lot of that stuff. So it's...
Yeah. So what do you think is going to be the most that people are going to lose, or what are they going to, like you say your body is depleting? So
probably because of the stress,
right.
financial, and also because nobody really knows what's going on. We're in a holding pattern right now. It's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, wait 2 weeks, wait 2 weeks, wait 2 weeks. Oh no, now it's end of June. No, now nobody knows, and people don't like that. So overall stress is one of the big killers. There are things that you can do to boost your immune system for sure. Vitamin D3, that's your master. The interesting thing about D is you have to get your doctor to ask for it, and sometimes you'll have to pay for that test to see what your vitamin D levels are.
A lot of people will just go and do it. They'll just go and buy it because they know already that they're depleting it. Like
95, I think it was the last number I heard, percent of the North American population is depleted in D. The interesting thing to remember is with D3,
that's go ahead.
You need K2. Because K2, what it does is it shuttles. This is basically helping your body remove excess calcium to where it should go. This shuttles it to where it needs to go. So the two of them are they work together, but again, K2, D3. You don't want to do D2, it's garbage. Your body can't absorb it, so there's no point in spending money on it. D3 is actually very inexpensive overall, and you can buy, or you could buy lots of it. Cod liver oil, I don't know if you remember, but I remember my mom throwing that down my throat as a kid. So again, high D, it's going to help, and it's got some of your other ones in there. So you got to remember, a lot of your things that are good for your body are fat soluble, so you can't eschew fat. And your vitamins, a lot of them they're water soluble, so you need a combination of both. That's why any one diet that says just do this, no, you got to look overall what's it going to do in the body. Again, immune boosting, good old elderberry. This is also, I believe, a Canadian company. This is
elderberry, cranberry.
Elderberry in particular is good for cold and flu. And when I was in Japan, I was taking the gummies just because they were convenient.
Available.
They were convenient for traveling, and I didn't want to get stuck bringing something I wasn't allowed to bring in, and I wasn't sure about this. So, for example, one of the ones that's quite famous in Canada is, of course, Cold FX. Well, this contains ginseng. You're not allowed to bring that into Japan. So, I know.
What? Really?
Yeah. You're not allowed to bring ginseng.
Doesn't ginseng come from Japan?
Yeah, and they don't want you to bring yours in, so you cannot bring it in. So you sort of have to look and you're like, oh, okay, so that's why I moved to the elderberries. Again, depending on where you're going and what the rules are for importation. The other thing, again, medicinal mushrooms. You can get supplementation. This is an American company. This has reishi. This has turkey tail. This has maitake. These have a lot of really powerful things. And again, these have been used in traditional Chinese medicine for years and years and years to boost the immune system, like thousands and thousands of years. These are things that I can forage turkey tail here when I'm lucky. I've actually found some reishi in the woods behind in Ontario and East. You can find chaga. These are powerful things that you can use and learn to use. So these are things to sort of start researching while you're stuck at home and have the opportunity to take your project. Learn.
Yeah, in case something does happen, because guess what? All of that you're showing right now, you can order online, or you can actually go to the store. Now they might run out online, or they might
run out in the
stores, and the chain, the supply chain might dry up, or we might not be able to actually go to the store anymore. I don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen.
Well, they're talking rolling blackouts in the UK.
I know.
So I'm like, not only take away people's freedom and then take away their internet even more, that's going to be pretty devastating. This is another one you can get in tea form, cat's claw. I don't know if you've heard of it. This is a good one for immune support. This is again a strong herb. A lot of these herbs have been used for centuries in indigenous populations. This one in particular in the Caribbean region is strong, and so they use a lot of that. I don't know. This is food, nutritional yeast. It's a source of B vitamins.
Yeah, that's
You either love it or you don't.
That's Vegemite down in Australia.
More or less, yeah.
Yeah, and
More or less.
it's tastes horrible. People put it on toast. I don't know.
Vegemite itself, I'm not a fan of. My eldest loves it. I don't mind this. This is good on popcorn. It gives a slightly cheesy flavor. In raw food, this is what people use as a bee supplement, and they throw it on kale chips and stuff like that.
Right. What about bee pollen and that sort of stuff?
Very powerful, so long as it is hasn't been pasteurized. So if it's on the shelf,
yeah.
there was a great guy in Ontario, and I used to be able to get bee pollen from him, and he would pull it out of a freezer pack, and you store it in the freezer. That stuff is very powerful, again, even for allergies, and isn't it? Right. So those things are very powerful. There's still a lot of things. This is another good one that you can do. I don't know if you can see licorice root tea.
Yep.
So if you like it, great. Again, it's going to help the immune system. Echinacea, most of us know about.
Right.
Good old Russian penicillin, garlic. This is still a powerhouse. You can grow this anywhere in any season. Well, you plant it in the fall. You can also plant it in spring. Grow it. That's powerful. You know, you can put it on wounds. Not too much because it will destroy the skin, I bet, as I've learned. But again, in your food, that's going to help you out a lot of antiviral properties. So there's some powerful things that you can do. This is another one a lot of people don't know about, but astragalus is also a huge immune boost.
Oh, okay. So that's used for your
immune system. And you can do that in the sense that you can put it in a tea. I usually combine it with turmeric tea because I prefer the taste of turmeric tea. Mm-hmm. Turmeric, again, huge.
So you were talking about some of the spices from some of this India. So turmeric is a huge one that they use, and we use it in curries, and I actually posted a recipe for dal. It was one of the spices. Yeah. So what is turmeric used for with respect to medicinal purposes, and why is it such a beneficial spice?
It has a lot of anti-inflammatory properties. That's one of the key things. Most diseases are caused by inflammation. When you boil it down and then you look at it, it's inflammation in the body from various sources. When you go deep, you want to reduce your inflammation, and that's why the combination, most Indian cuisine has garlic, ginger, turmeric, black pepper. And then a lot of them have a fat source, which again, because turmeric, you want some sort of a fat source because that helps draw it more into the body.
So with the butter that they usually
with their ghee, with their ghee. And then again, in the South, they use a lot of coconut oil, oil or coconut milk in their recipes. Right. So you look at that and you combine that, and then you've got this powerhouse of nutrition going into your body. So there's so much you can do just through food alone. And again, if the supply chain runs out, all these supplements will be gone.
Right.
So you have to start looking.
So if we talk about the supplements themselves, just the supplements, which ones should I just make sure I have in the house? Like just pick like 4 or 5 of them that I just need to have in case something does happen, or I should be taking every day.
In terms of every day, honestly, probably one of the best, and it's very inexpensive, is organic milk thistle. Why? That supports your liver. Again, going back to glutathione, that is going to support your body overall. That is
help process all the extra booze you're going to drink while you're sitting at home doing nothing.
that too, yeah. And again, it's going to help your liver. Anything that supports your liver is going to help you overall. Again, it depends. Sort of like if you're suffering from an acute thing, there are things that you can take. So, for example, if you get a little bit phlegmy, I don't know if I can find it, quercetin, which is present, not here. I had it earlier. Hold on a second. Quercetin is one of the big ones that will help remove mucus from the upper respiratory tract. It's also found in apples, onions, an apple a day. There's a lot of truth and knowledge. Yeah, when you look at it, a lot of these compounds have been taken from plants. And so if you go back to them, that's where you're going to find the beneficial properties. And again, apples, we, at least here on the West Coast, we do grow them. And they store for a long period of time. You can store apples long term. And at least through until the next harvest, if you're not fighting for bears for your crop. So there's those things. I would, milk thistle, D. Again, D is a huge one. I would take it with the K2 every day. Those are probably the biggest ones. Then, depending on what's going on in your body, it's going to vary. Like because hubby's got a very high stress job. I've got him on the ashwagandha, right?
Okay.
So it depends. Me personally, depends on what's going on in my body. That's kind of why I have an assortment. But
and you know which ones to take because you know what's going on in your body.
Yeah,
So.
and that's the thing is you got to respect, your body will always give you signals. Like if you're feeling stiff and sore, guess what? You've got inflammation. So again, then
Right.
you support it with the turmeric or the ginger.
So what are some of the best? There's a lot of anti-inflammatory. So there's a lot of, if you have inflammation, there's a lot of natural foods that you can eat that's going to help with that. For example, cherries. Cherries is a good one. What are some of the other natural foods that are beneficial for that? So say somebody is actually hurting. What are
Ginger.
some of them? Sorry, ginger?
Ginger is huge for inflammation. Yeah. Any of your, ginger is a big one in terms of inflammation. That's probably one of the most powerful ones. It depends, you know.
I've heard pineapple, kiwi.
Those are your enzymes. And so what your enzymes
Okay.
will do is they will go through and they'll clean up. So when my daughter stepped on the wasp nest, one of the things that I was applying topically was a bromelain. Again,
Okay.
it was helping with the stings. So you've got, this is a fascinating one. You used to be able to get this in Canada.
You're not able to?
No, it works.
Oh. Sorry. It works, so you're not able to get it?
Yeah, essentially that's what they do here. It used to be called VirusStop, and it was specifically designed to help. It's proteolytic enzymes, and you would use this when you had a virus because it would basically knock it out, and it was a great product. You can only get this in the States. So if you travel to the States, I highly recommend hunting down a health food store and seeing if you can find this. You can get things like Megazyme, which is here in Canada. Again, same thing. You know, you've got papain, which is one of your other enzymes from papayas. Enzymes will help. If you take them with food, enzymes will help with digestion. If you take them away from food, they will help to clean up your body and get rid of debris, I guess.
Okay.
The gunk that's inside. So that's another way of looking at it, more or less. Yeah.
So maybe one thing that people might be wondering is they've got a back, like a little garden. What would you plant in a garden at this time?
Oregano, thyme, sage.
Garlic as well.
Garlic, yeah. Basically chives, because you're going to get your onions and you're going to get your sulfur compounds, which again are going to help with detoxification and flavor. But thyme and oregano, those are potent antivirals. Same thing with sage. And there are other medicinal uses for sage tea. And if you're a nursing mother, most of them know. But again, sage is also powerful as an anti-inflammatory as well. So, and antiviral. There's a lot of, the interesting thing about natural medicines is that they've got crossover. Not only are they antiviral, but they're antimicrobial, or they've got antibacterial properties as well. So when you work with them rather than against them, you're going to get the best properties of them. Like thyme, in Germany, they sell dried thyme in capsules. So as soon as you have a cough, you're popping thyme in a capsule form. And sure enough, it works because of the property that is in it. So I would plant herbs and garlic. Yes, I would. Spinach.
Those are easy. Those are easy to grow.
And that's the thing, right? Yeah. Unless you have an alpaca.
And those will actually continue each year. You might get several crops from them in a year as well, like chives, you do.
Oh gosh, yeah. They never stop growing.
Yeah, hard to do here as I'm looking outside and it's minus 16 with snow. But soon.
We had snow this morning. It was a rather shock to wake up to because it was just falling, and we're like looked outside and like, April Fools, really? It was gross. It was completely gross outside. So
you guys don't want to know what it did here. It was nice. It was like plus 15.
Where are you?
I'm in Kingston, Southern Ontario.
Yep.
So yeah. Anything else that you would, so if we have a little bit more room in the backyard, anything else that you would be planting?
Greens. Yeah, lots of leafy greens. Honestly, the biggest bang for your buck in terms of nutrition is your greens, whether it's, the cabbage family or you've got broccoli, spinach, kale. Gosh, kale grows even in the winter time, and you can cover it out. There's a lady out in Nova Scotia who's grown it year round, just using straw bales and keeping it covered. So
really?
Oh yeah. There's a lot of things that you can do so long as you do a little bit of preemptive planning, and you can continue to grow and continue to harvest. So, your greens are going to give you the biggest bang for your nutritional buck. And so I would focus in on planting green things. Other things are great as an addition if you've got the space and the time to grow them and they grow well in your area. I have a black thumb, so it's always a bit of a challenge. I like things that I can't kill. I do love chives for that reason, and kale. I can't seem to kill those, so they're my friends. But you know, it just depends on what you're capable of growing and what you've got the space to grow, and whether or not you've got critters that are going to eat your food. So
that's true too.
Yeah, you don't want somebody or an animal to either eat it or defecate in it. So you got to be aware of those things. But there's a lot of really good resources out there in terms of what you can grow in a small space, and where you can grow depending on your climate. And like I said, my family, Saskatchewan farmers originally on one side, and my Ukrainian side knew how to grow just about anything, and they grew a lot of their own food. And so it's possible. Potatoes are easy for the most part. Again, sweet potatoes are harder. You have to have a warmer climate. I did grow them in Ontario. Haven't had much luck here. So it really depends. Greenhouse use, if you've got one, you're already growing stuff. Yeah. So it just depends on what's around your property and how much space you have. But like I said, if you need greens, sprouts on a windowsill, easy, quick and easy. And in terms of overall storage space, you don't need a lot of space to store a lot of seeds, right? So.
Yeah. Okay.
Cool.
Adriel, you got anything else?
No, that was most of my questions. I mean, the growing one, I guess I can like mail order some seeds, and I'll have them well before I could even dig a hole to put them in. Just because the ground's still frozen.
You could start them indoors. That's what a lot of people are doing, right? They're going to be they can start them hydroponically, or you can actually start them in little
Pots.
peat moss pots and start them that way too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Depends on your season.
So what are you guys doing personally to
grow anything right now?
Grow anything right now, or just what sort of supplementation are you guys taking?
So I'm not growing anything right now, which is probably a bad idea. I have sage, and I have oregano, I have chives, and I have garlic in my backyard. I've planted them. So that's stuff that I've always had. For supplements, to take a multivitamin every day. As I said, I have the greens, but mostly I actually, so I eat clean.
Yep.
So that means nothing that's processed.
Nice.
I just been going and getting food that is natural and sourced locally if I could.
Yeah.
So, and then so either freezing it or stocking it, and that way, it'll be healthy. Like, I'll admit, I bought a couple boxes of Kraft Dinner and a couple of ramen for my son because that's what he likes, and I have those downstairs. But,
we did the same, because it depends on what your kids, and also too, there's a psychological aspect of having something that's a treat if you're going through long, sustained periods. That's also why I like dark chocolate. Huge antioxidant benefits. Keeps a heck of a long time. I find my kids, they have to be really desperate to want it, which means it doesn't get eaten out of my pantry. So
well, it doesn't have a lot of sugar in it, right? But it will satisfy that sugar craving,
and it'll give you lots of magnesium as well.
Right.
That's why magnesium, again, is an anti-stress vitamin. So
right. So that's the type of stuff that I try and do. But as I said, I have some of these on hand, the news. I also have some of these as well. These are the Cliff Shots. This is energy. These are full of crap. I'll admit it.
Okay.
It is just like, this one's energy gel. This one's vanilla. I don't know what in it is actually vanilla. I don't think there's any natural flavors or anything, but what they are is just actually, they're just that high energy, high sugar stuff, just in case you need it. So I do have some of that on hand just in case. Like, as I said, if stuff hits the fan, this is the stuff I'm going to pull out.
You'll have it. Yeah, you'll have it and you'll use it and then it'll be gone, type of thing. That's the other way to look at it, is sort of like, you're going to have these things, like we're eating some stuff right now. We're like, okay, let's, change out the pantry. Let's see what we've got. Let's make some interesting things. I had a recipe from years ago where somebody gave me, and it was made with canned beans for muffins. And I was like, I really liked it. I know it sounds really strange. And I was like, oh, let's throw this at the kids. Sure enough, they actually ate it and enjoyed it. So it's sort of like,
that's not like zucchini loaf, right?
Exactly.
This is so good. Well, that's great. It's got zucchini in it.
Yeah. Most people are
Right?
like, ew.
Ew.
Yeah. So it's sort of like you have to find new creative ways to implement what you've got in the pantry. And so
Right.
it's sort of like, okay, you change it up a bit. Like we're heading into, well, we're starting our growing season here. So it's sort of like, okay. And like I said, I always forage out in the back anyway. So for me, it's much easier to pick something than for me to actually plant. So that's usually
So,
what I do.
but part of what I also do as well is I'm now working with so I'm Indigenous, so I'm working with elders in my
Nice.
community.
Nice.
So things like, for example, I can harvest cattails and
Yes.
we
The
get,
pollen.
yeah, and also actually the roots as well. They're edible. You can roast them. They taste really good, kind of like
Cool.
leeks.
Okay.
And you can pickle them.
Yep.
And things like cedar tea as well. Harvest the cedar. You can make actual tea out of it. It's great medicinal properties as well. So those types of things are I'm actually exploring. So those are the good things. I can go out and basically
Learn.
learn and survive if I need to.
Well, and that's the thing. There's such a rich history here in British Columbia of
Right.
those natural foods that are out there. Like salal leaves can be used as a tea, as an appetite
Right.
suppressant. And so you're just like, there's so much that's out there. So
Right.
yeah, it's great when you can combine knowledge with traditional societies. That's why like the Indian society, the traditional Chinese medicine is amazing because it's been studied and used for thousands of years.
Right.
Yeah.
What are you doing, Adriel?
Nothing. I'm eating total crap. I have a minimum of exercise I'm at least going through now. I'm eating total crap and some chewy garbage vitamins. And I'm probably going to grow a little bit of garlic and cilantro.
Cilantro's good. Cilantro's powerful at removing heavy metals from the body. It's an amazing, and it's got a very high ORAC scale.
It tastes good in like a Mexican salad.
Exactly.
Yeah. It does. You can actually freeze cilantro. You can freeze all of the herbs that you're basically growing as well. So
yeah,
I got dill too.
And dry them.
I like those ones because you can pick off of them and they keep growing.
Yep.
It doesn't kill them.
Yeah.
And the bugs don't get them, so I don't have to like. I don't know.
Too hard. Yeah.
Yeah, I tried growing some tomatoes one year, and I think the bugs ate more of them than I did. And no one wants to like you put a lot of work into like what it amounts to, like $1 tomato with a bunch of worms in it. Yeah, so I'm not doing that again. I'm just growing stuff that the bugs won't eat.
Smart.
You can actually do things like you can marigolds. You can plant them around your tomato plant.
Planting. Yeah.
And then you won't actually have bugs in your tomatoes. Just an FYI.
Yeah, the first time I
get it from Superstore. They don't have bugs on them.
But there is not going to be a Superstore.
There's a Superstore right now.
A lot of the conventional food is sprayed, and so again, when you look at what they're putting on the food, it's not in any way. That's again, you're taking a withdrawal, and so if you can afford it, yeah, organic is far superior. There's certain things I can't afford. Like I would love to be able to buy organic cucumbers. I just can't afford it. There's no way I'm spending $6 for a cucumber. So you do the best that you can. And I focused in on like spinach. I never buy anything but organic because it's one of the dirty dozen. It's one of the ones that are really bad and it has a high pesticide load. So.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Spinach. Sorry. Like my husband sometimes calls me the fun vampire because I can.
You suck the fun out of it.
I
love spinach. I freeze it.
Yeah.
So
it's great so long as it's coming from a clean source or you're growing yourself. But spinach is one of the dirty dozen, just like strawberries. You want to get those. You either want to pick those yourself from the wild.
No, those usually are coming from Mexico, and you know those are coming. Yeah.
And again, like garlic, you know how hard it is to get garlic that isn't from China. It's almost impossible. Like, thankfully, if you're not growing your own, you're okay. Like, if you're growing your own, you're okay. But if you're not, you're hooped. They basically cornered the market on garlic.
And they have.
And so it's like you have to source it locally.
You know what? Garlic is, you're not going to find a lot of garlic right now because of the shipping containers not being allowed at the ports. So we're gonna be, we're not going to have a lot of stuff in the next little while.
As long as you have one clove or a couple of them, you just go put them in the ground and they'll make more.
Oh, absolutely, they will. Yeah.
You can grow.
So long as you don't have an animal that's going to dig it up and eat it or eat the tops off of it. Just saying.
Nothing that'll survive. Me.
The only problem is when you've got those little things that, you know, they give you eggs and they're like, hey, what have you planted? Let's dig this up. And you're like, you little bastards. Unfortunately, the chickens, every time I plant garlic, they're like, hey, what's this? And I cover it over. And then the dog's like, what are you doing, Mom? I'm going to dig here. And I'm like, oh, yeah. So luckily I have multiple friends that grow and are very kind and give me their garlic, which is grown here locally. Sometimes I can get stuff just across the way at one of the local farms.
Right.
And
so is there any other tips or tricks that you have for people with respect to how are they going to stay healthy, or what do they need to do?
What they got to learn more often than not, honestly, is work at managing the stress, because the stress is going to get you long term. It's going to deplete so much from your body. So try to get it under control however you can. Whether, you know, going out to the range and shooting a bunch of rounds, great. If that's what lowers your stress, go for it. If it's taking a walk, go for it. Work at managing the stress long term, because that's what's going to do you in more than anything else. Try to eat clean. Yeah, try to keep your diet as clean as possible, and try to work with what works best for you. Like one of the things with paleo and keto, they both have positives depending on what you're trying to achieve. But again, the big thing is they're reducing inflammation, right? Because for most part, Whole30 as well, you're taking out all the crap and you're actually eating food. So long term, you're going to be far further ahead, no matter what you do, so long as you're sticking with whole foods.
Right.
Long term, I would say stick with foods, supplement when and where you can, but try when you're supplementing to try to get the best sources out there and really do your research as to what they're putting in, because some of it's really downright scary and it is a waste of your money. So you have to be a smart consumer like anything else. You really need to sort of look and see what's out there, know what the ingredient list is. And I mean, the beautiful thing about having the smartphones these days, if you don't understand what one of the ingredient lists is, you can quickly look it up and figure out, and you go like, do I want to put that in my body or don't I? So that's probably my best tip, I guess.
So the multi gummies is the no, right?
Those ones are concentrated, Kelly, because they're like little rocks. You got to suck on them a little bit. They're like hard rock candy.
Yeah, really chew at that point. If that's all, for example, for kids, because I know I used those when my kids were young. I did a lot of juicing with my kids were young, because that way I knew I was getting something in them that was even moderately, healthy. If that's all your kids are going to eat, by all means,
go for it.
Yeah, go for it to support them, because they're also going under a lot of stress. It's great for the first little bit. Woo, I don't have to go to school. And now they're getting bored. You're hitting that sort of peak where it's like, no, I want to be out doing things and I can't go see my friends. I can't take public transport. So again, managing stress, but use what you can.
Our kids are going through so much stress right now, especially the ones that are in like high school. The ones that are in university that are going, okay, my university or my high school is done for this year, essentially, is what it is. And they're stressing. Yeah. I feel so bad for especially those that are graduating or supposed to be graduating.
Well,
they're stressed. They're high stress right now.
Yeah, my eldest is supposed to graduate. And I was telling Adriel, she's thankfully got early acceptance into the University of Calgary based on last year's marks.
Good.
So, she at least has that in her back pocket, but she's sort of like waiting on all the other universities. And she doesn't know. So again, anything that you can do to support them, even if it means cutting them slack a little bit about cleaning the room, go for it. It's not a fun time by any stretch of the imagination, and overall stress more than anything is going to deplete
everything
your body. Everything that you're trying to do. So once you've got that under control, and good sleep, like it's key. Sleep. Well,
what is it?
If you're waking up at 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning every night, chances are your liver's hooped, and that's where the milk thistle comes into play, supporting your liver, blood sugar issues. It can be a whole bunch of things. Sleep is key for healing and managing stress. And once you've got those under control, and it's not easy, like I said, it depends on your life situation. It depends on your work, what you're doing. It depends on whether you've got kids at home, whether you don't, whether you've got sick family members. There's a lot of things going on, but take some time for yourself. Do something that you really enjoy doing and that helps you feel better each and every day. That's key overall, I feel. Cool.
Can you do us a favor?
I can try, sure.
Everything that you've pointed out to us, can you write it down? What
Absolutely.
it is, what it is, who the supplier is, and then we can actually list that for people as well if they're interested in going and getting it. So
sure, yeah,
I can do awesome.
Cool.
All right.
All right. Well, thank you very much.
Thank
Thanks for coming
you.
on.
No worries.
Yeah, fantastic.
Have a good one.